Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Happy Monday, and welcome to yet another stellar week of radio greatness. I am the immobile one, Rob Brown, back in the network studio, the great one, Lonzo, in charge of all the technical aspects that make this show as above average as it is. Great to have you. Happy Monday. Hope you had a better weekend than I did, ladies and gentlemen. But alas and nonetheless, we are here ready to rock and roll. Lonzo, what is up, senor?
You use the word alas. Anytime that you start out with alas, it's not going to be good. Cannot wait for the story.
We don't use nothing but them highfalutin big words around here, Lonzo.
Alas.
Ergo.
Ergo. Oh.
Ergo's my favorite. Ergo is one of my favorites. Ergo is underused. Like, don't say because, say ergo. It makes you sound smart. You know what I mean? I am broadcasting live from the Casa de Love today because your boy, is it fair to say I got wrecked this weekend? Like, I feel like there's connotations in that I don't intend. Suffice to say that a gentleman attempted to cross Wade Hampton in front of me, and neither of us made it. So the old rig is currently sitting on the back of a tow truck somewhere over the course of the weekend. It got towed away because the front end was pushed into itself. So Rob Brown's stuck at the house for a couple of days getting set up to talk to insurance adjusters and whatnot. Suffice to say, not the best weekend ever, ladies and gentlemen, but it was not going to deter your boy from being here on a Monday to talk some whatever the hell we want to talk about.
Oh, by the way, happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Yesterday was the trip around the Sunday for one Rob Brown. And I will say I do have to say thank you because the lady friend did everything she could do to get me out of the funk. I had that car for about 160,000 miles. Phenomenal car. And it did its job because we hit hard. But was a little bummed out at the loss of the old vehicle, and more importantly, stressed by the reality of what the next 2 weeks to 6 months are going to be like for me. So the lady friend took me out yesterday. We went up to the Biltmore and had a couple of nice glasses of wine and listened to some music and unwound just a little bit. But I'm gonna say really good birthday in that regard. 38 started off, Lonzo, with a bang.
Oh,
literally.
For some reason, I thought it was 39. Sorry for aging you another year, which yesterday might have helped to age you another year. I am curious, though, what is the jacket selection for the Biltmore? Because I've seen all the commercials, but I've never been before.
I actually did not rock the sports coat yesterday to go up there. Had I, it would have likely been either the green velvet, or it would have. It's a little too early to break out the seersucker. Seersucker would be a good option a little bit later in the year. It would have been the green velvet, but decided yesterday instead to go with the soft pink linen overshirt over the baby blue matching undershirt. Blue jeans and the brown dress hiking boots to go to the Biltmore.
Wait. So you can dress like that at the Biltmore? I didn't think you were. I thought there was a dress code or something.
No, it turns out you're not required to wear a tuxedo. The times they are a changing. No formal wear required at the Biltmore. So I went with Rob Brown cash, right? Like the brown cash is the pink overshirt over the baby blue shirt. And I got to say, I look good. Like, I looked real good.
Did you look 39 good? No, you looked 38 good.
I looked 38 good. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
And rocked the blue matching glasses to be accessorized. Went with the solid white G-Force watch to pull the whole look together with the white shirt with the white stripes in the shirt. The blue Sambas, of course, matching the baby blue undershirt as well. Listen, it was a crap Saturday, but damn if I didn't step out Sunday looking like $1 million.
So, did you look around and see how everybody else was dressed? Were they basically the same or not?
Lonzo, I turned my nose up at the commoners. That's
Okay.
what I did.
All right.
That's not true. I'm not a jerk. No, man. Listen.
I'm trying to gauge something here because I've always wanted to go, but I never felt like going and buying a new outfit to go.
No, just wear your khakis. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I do have to tell you this. I did think of the great one yesterday because we went up to the Biltmore. We hit the winery, and there was a table, 2 tables over at the winery of I'm assuming, mother and father, probably in their late 20s to early 30s, and their 3 children, Lonzo, at the winery, one of whom was about 4.5, 5 years old, ballparking it. Now, I'm going to give these young ones credit because they were very well behaved. They were quiet. They sat at the table. They were talking with each other. They were not yelling at each other. They were having respectable volume conversation. I appreciated the behavior of these kids. In fact, would have even go so far as to commend these kids and their parents for doing such an excellent job of not disturbing my day at the winery as a, adult. Until about 45 minutes into their experience, they handed the kid a tablet. And the kid began to watch a show which I now know, Lonzo, is called CoComelon. Are you aware of CoComelon?
Yes. Well, I probably need to turn that on. I'm a bit. That's one. It's a big. I'm big into the CoComelon. She's gotten beyond that now, but for a little while, the granddaughter big into the CoComelon. So watched all the CoComelons.
So, CoComelon, a show about, and again, the only reason I have any context clues at all, Lonzo, is because there was about a 4.5-year-old child watching CoComelon on a tablet at full rip volume in the winery. Full rip volume. Now, my question here, and the reason I thought about Lonzo is, Lonzo is a parent, although I suspect that tablets weren't really a thing, because I know the ages of your children when you were raising them, but you also are grandpas, though. And my question is, if you were to go out with the spawn of Reitzel, and sit at a table, and the little one, who, by the way, I have met multiple times, and is an absolute doll of a kid, a doll of a child. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke to Lonzo. Lonzo's kids are both great. I am friends with both of them off the air. And grandkid is an absolute doll. But if someone handed Lonzo, the grandkid, a tablet in the middle of a restaurant and started blasting the CoComelon at full volume, sincerely, what would your reaction be?
Well, she has watched CoComelon in restaurants, and we keep the volume down because
you're a responsible, civil human being.
Yeah, because they're watching it, not everybody else. So, I mean, yeah, if the volume gets too loud, I make sure it comes down, and I'm an expert at DBs, so I know the right level that it needs to be so it doesn't carry to the next table.
Fair enough. I was blown away. Not quite enough to summon the stones to walk over and be like, pardon me, if you don't mind, perchance would you lower the volume on your technological wonder here?
That's what you use the waiter or waitress for.
Yeah, no, that's so passive aggressive, right? Like, just do it. Except for, like, I don't know if it just didn't bother me that much, or I was just because you got to keep in mind, I was also literally less than 24 hours removed from having my car totaled out from under me. So I knew that if I walked over there and I was like, hey, I don't mean to be rude, and I understand you're trying to entertain your kid, and your kids are phenomenally well behaved, by the way, and I want to compliment you, but could you not subject the entire winery full of adults having casual conversation to the Coco Melon theme song over and over again, it would be greatly appreciated, because I know if she was like, hey, why don't you mind your own business, it'd have been a problem, and I probably wouldn't have been allowed back at the Biltmore. And I like the Biltmore, so I didn't want to do that. But my question to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, which of course you can give us a call at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, or you can shoot us a text at 71307, 71307, and start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. How do we feel about the parents who entertain their kids at the table with tablets? Now, no problem with that. The catch is going to be with the volume loud enough to be heard tables over, right? Because there's a part of me, Lonzo, that wants to carry, I was going to say in my vehicle, but obviously that's out of the question now. There's a part of me that wants to carry around a bag that has like 100 pair of cheap plug-in headphones in them. And every time this happens, just walk over and set the headphones down in front of the child. I will tell you one more thing, and then we're going to get to sports, I promise. I'm working through some stuff today, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with me. I saw a video make the rounds on the social media, Alonzo, over the weekend. Commented on by a lot of people who were talking about how joyous this made them. There is a video going around of a kid on an airplane. And now I know that Lonzo's not going to have a direct attachment to this story, not having flown before. But there's a video going around of a kid on an airplane, and the kid is watching something on the tablet, right? He's watching something on the tablet. And every time something would happen on the tablet, which, by the way, also had the volume up loud enough that the person 4 seats away filming this was able to clearly pick up the audio from the tablet. Every time something would happen on a tablet, Lonzo, this baby would giggle, right? Like something would happen on the tablet and the baby would giggle. And don't get me wrong, the laughter of a child is one of life's great joys. I'm not disagreeing with that. But this was happening for like 10 minutes of something on tablet, volume, baby laughing, tablet, baby laughing, tablet, baby laughing, tablet, baby laughing, tablet, baby laughing. The person commenting or posting the video said that this went on for over 23 minutes over the course of the flight. And I have to tell you, Zoe, the only thing that sounds worse than that is if you gave the entire plane ukuleles. That would be the only way that I would be less like, can we give the kids some headphones?
Hold on. So you don't like the sound of a child's laughter?
I literally just said the sound of a child's laughter is one of the great pleasures in life. As Uncle Rob, and you've seen this, you have watched me play, Lonzo, in the middle of a group of adults with your grandchild before. The laughter, I go out of my way to make kids laugh because I like to be the cool uncle in their lives. Doesn't matter if it's family or not. If you bring your kid around me, I'm going to do my best to make them laugh. But if I am trapped on a metal tube 35,000 feet up in the sky and I hear both the tablet and your kid laughing for half an hour, it's going to get old.
All right, Rob. So would you rather that child who's being entertained and giggling be crying the entire time?
No. So I would rather the laughing than the crying.
Yes. There we go. There we go. Because chances are, if that video's not on, that kid's not laughing, that kid's crying.
I will make a compromise here, Lonzo. I could put up with the baby giggling if you plug some headphones into the tablet, right? Like, can we all agree that if your kid is listening to the tablet at a volume that is audible more than like 2 to 3 feet away, that's rude? Can we agree that that is rude?
No, I definitely agree with you there. But at the same time, you also got to you need to consider the child's ears and the development of the ears, putting things too loud in their ears that young could cause damage. So
that doesn't mean I should be subjected to Coco Melon.
So you would rather, the kid have probable hearing the rest of their lives than you hear Coco Melon.
Have you heard Coco Melon?
Yes.
It's awful.
The first theme of Coco Melon starts out with a little kid laughing, and it makes me smile every time. Because when I hear Coco Melon, I think of my granddaughter.
That's
and that
adorable.
makes me smile every time.
Good for you. Turn the damn tablet down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have got a show lined up for you today. A lot to get into. Dame Lillard dropped 71 last night. He is now more 60-point games than Michael Jordan. I want to talk about Dame Lillard and his place in the league, because I think when we talk about the stars of the game, Dame never gets mentioned. And I think he absolutely should. But there is another NBA player who is on the cusp of winning an award that I think no one else in the league should even be thinking about winning. But there's talk that he won't win the award because he's already won it twice. And I think it's a garbage argument. We'll talk about that coming up later in the show. The Atlanta Braves began their spring training preseason games a couple of days ago, and the Braves became the first victim, the first team to eat an L because of a new rule. And it got me thinking that maybe some of these rules aren't quite what we hoped they would be when we put them into play. We'll talk about that coming up later on. Kyle Busch won this weekend, and I'm going to tell you right now, well, not right now, like in like a couple of segments, while if you are a bettor and a NASCAR viewer, Kyle Busch is the guy to stack some dimes on top of to win the NASCAR championship. I got that coming for you in just a little while, and a whole bunch of college football. Plus, coming up next, Lonzo pointed out that a major event is happening this week, and none of us have talked about it yet, which is shocking because it used to be one of the biggest events of the year. We'll talk about that coming up in a little while as well. The great one is in the network studio. I am Rob Brown in the Casa de Love. We are back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
This is WWE Intercontinental Champion, der Ringgeneral Gunther, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I watched SmackDown on Friday and immediately popped once again when Imperium made their way to the ring. I'm just now an Imperium guy.
Yeah, me too. I hate that. I don't want to, but after talking,
Team heels for life.
yeah, once someone's in studio and they're really, really cool, that really makes you a fan. You can't help it. And he says my name on a liner that plays on our sister station. So, I mean, when he says he likes to slap me, every time I hear that liner, it's like, I hated it when it was written, but I'm good now. What happens when we get some other guys in studios or girls in studios and then they fight each other? Then how do we pick then?
Whoever's interview I liked better.
Okay.
Be right back.
I am also going to step away for a moment because I must go down the hall. So stand by. And we're back.
And we're back. Who was the SNL character that did the really annoying FM radio DJ skits? Do you remember?
Well, one of them, it was Batman.
It was Batman. Will Arnett?
No. The best Batman ever.
Michael Keaton?
No. I'm trying to get your help here because for some Ben Affleck. It was Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck was not the best Batman. He was the best Bruce Wayne.
He was the best Batman. Anyway, so it was Ben Affleck and somebody else. And I don't remember who it was. Because when they go off the air, they'd be like, "You stole my deal" and all that kind of stuff. And then they would jump back on the air and they both would be doing like the same shtick. I don't remember who the other guy was, but I know Affleck was one of them.
Sorry, the text line asked me, when is it appropriate to start wearing seersucker? And the answer is whenever it's warm outside, but you have to wear a jacket. Also, hello to everybody in the chat. Trey said, happy birthday. Sorry to hear about the wreck. Totaled my truck in December. It was a stressful situation. Hope you can find something else that works for you. Yeah, me too, Trey. I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you on all counts. Honestly, I don't even care about having to get a new car. I hate, like, Lonzo knows this. Like, there's this, you form a sentimental attachment to your rig, especially when your rig is good to you, right? Like, that Jeep was so good to me. For the what, 5 years that I had it. That Jeep was it got me back and forth from Florida to here. It's got me up into the mountains multiple times. It's got me down to the beach. Like, that car was so good to me that I genuinely had my feelings hurt watching it get towed away. I felt bad. Like I felt bad. Like I owed the car an apology.
By the way, it was Jimmy Fallon with him.
Jimmy Fallon, that makes sense.
Upstate.com.
And he probably laughed at himself.
Real sports talk for real sports fans.
The Rob Brown Show, now 9 to noon. The Fan. Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show is on your radio, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and Lonzo with you. Boy, you guys had some thoughts on this tablet thing, didn't you? April just checked into the Facebook stream, which, by the way, the stream is up and live for you right now, despite the fact that I am not in the building. We're streaming anyway. Why? Because we love you, ladies and gentlemen, and it's what we do.
And because, that's how we started.
Correct. That is also true.
Because it was during COVID, and this is how we started doing it.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, that is 100% correct. When I was still working from home towards the end of lockdowns, and Lonzo moved on to this show, we started this show this way, doing the stream. So here we are once again. It's like getting the old band back together. Anyway, Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate. The Fan Upstate's YouTube channel is now available for you as well. So you can go to YouTube and search for The Fan Upstate and watch the stream there, or search The Rob Brown Show on Twitch. April just checked in on the stream and said, happy Monday, fellas. Rob, glad you and yours are all good. Concerning tablets at high volume, I hate it. As far as the winery, that may not even be the best choice. That may not be the best choice if even getting the tablet out is an option. Yeah, that's the other, and again, this is where I'm going to say some stuff that Lonzo is going to hold over my head for the rest of forever. But I feel like once you have kids, you do so with the recognition that
hold on just a second. We're gonna have to comment on this. All right, this is twice that Fat Boy has jumped into the wrong stream.
Next time he comes on, I'm putting him on. Next time he gets in, if I can get to that mouse fast enough, he's getting put on the stream.
So is he doing it on purpose, or is he just
he's just clicking. Yeah, he's just clicking. I feel like, ladies and gentlemen, once you have cheering, you must do so with the understanding that you don't get to do everything you want to do anymore. Right? Like, you don't get to do everything you want to do. And going to adult establishments whose only primary function is to provide booze to me with your children, if they are going to disrupt the atmosphere, is no longer on the table. Like, that is a sacrifice you make to be a parent. And if you're not ready to give up the wineries and the breweries, then maybe just hang off for a little while. You know what I mean? Like, maybe just hang off until you are. Texter says, Rob, when is it appropriate to start wearing seersucker? Beginning of spring? Seersucker is late spring and into the summer, but effectively the rule is if it's too hot for a traditional blazer, but you still have to wear a jacket, seersucker is the way to go. So like the warm months, I would say probably late April is when you can start breaking out the seersucker, which by the way, I got to tell you, and I don't know why I didn't think about this till now. Lonzo, you would look damn good in a seersucker jacket. You would pull off the Southern gentleman in a seersucker jacket so well.
What kind of tie am I wearing?
I think you're the type of dude that goes seersucker but no tie. Like
Okay.
seersucker white t-shirt. No, you would pull off the no tie exceptionally well.
I don't disagree because where I don't dress up, then when I do, it's a shock to everyone's system. So yeah.
That is true. Lonzo rolled up into the building as a result of a Boo Box bet with the man bun and a suit. And it was like, damn, you look good, dude. Like, he thought I was being sarcastic. No, he just pulled it off. Lonzo and seersucker might just bring down the entire hierarchy of male attractiveness. Like, we would all get knocked down a peg by Zoe and seersucker.
So as to not do that, you don't have to worry about it because I don't want to hurt everybody.
Let's see here. Texture says, Rob, parents rank up there with cyclists as the most entitled people on the planet. Nobody wants to listen to whatever your kid is watching, and nobody wants to be stuck behind you on the road because you decided to put on a spandex onesie and play in traffic. I
think that's going a little too far. I do. I
actually don't.
They're two totally different things for sure.
No, they're not. They're not. They're the same thing.
If you choose to have a child, you should never go anywhere until they're like 10.
Nope. If you choose to have a child, you lose the right.
Chuck E. Cheese.
No, but see, that's the thing. I don't expect to go to Chuck E. Cheese and be able to sit down and have quiet, polite adult conversation. I'm talking exclusively, and I'm not even talking about restaurants, Lonzo. I'm talking about wineries and breweries. There's only one thing that you do at a winery or a brewery. You sit around and you drink wine or you drink beer, right? Like, you want to go to the you want to go to the Applebee's? You want to go to the Chili's and get your skillet queso? I got no problem with that. I don't expect a nice, quiet, polite adult conversation at the Chili's. I love the Chili's, but that's not what I go there for. But if I go to the Biltmore Winery, yeah, I kind of expect nice, quiet conversation.
All right, so what's the difference between a winery and a bar?
A bar traditionally is going to serve all the types of alcohol. They're going to have everything. A bar, not always, but traditionally is going to have some sort of food offering. And a bar is a little bit more of a loose atmosphere when it comes to volume, when it comes to stuff happening. There's usually going to be games or things happening at a bar. Whereas a winery, the point is to sit, relax, and just enjoy the goodness of the beverage, right? Like, you go to the winery to sip wine and taste wines and enjoy wines versus a bar where the point is socializing.
All right, so it's my understanding that in Europe, children or teens or whatever are allowed to drink wine at an early age, and wine is served with every meal unless something has changed. So is it possible that this family was European?
No, not at all. You know how I know? Because I could hear their conversation that they had to raise the volume of to talk over the cocoa melon the whole time.
So loud guys complaining about people being loud.
Lonzo, when I go to a winery with a lady friend and she and I are sitting there and having a glass of wine and enjoying our conversation and talking about our work week and talking about insurance adjusters and how Rob's going to get a new car, Rob doesn't have to be the loud guy. I can just have a regular conversation. It's just that I choose not to when I'm not doing that.
Ain't nobody out there believe that you're quiet somewhere.
I just did it.
Yeah, I know. And usually it's only when we're trying not to let everyone in the building know what we're talking about that you're that quiet.
That is also correct.
But I've never been in a public place with you where you were. And granted, everywhere I've been with you has been a loud spot. So
if you and I went to a place and had the conversations that you and I don't want other people to hear, then you would get Quiet Rob. Quiet Rob does exist. He just doesn't make appearances very often, is all
also
I'm saying.
Known as almost NPR Rob.
Kevin said, good morning, Rob and Lonzo. How do you always come up with conversations that pull me in? I was totally going to ignore y'all today, but I bet Rob is way more irritating than any kid in any brewery or winery. Oh, I see this Kevin's decided to go full heel today. I respect that, Kev. I really do. No, listen. If you take Rob to a bar, you're going to get a bit of elevated volume, but I'm also conscious and aware of the people around me. And if I get to the point where I recognize that my volume is taking away from their enjoyment of the establishment, then I will STFU, no problem. That kid was not turning down Cocomelon.
How will you be made aware?
Social awareness, Lonzo.
Really?
Like, social cues, right? Like if you look around and every time you look around, you catch the table next to you giving you like the bug eyes, like, oh my God, dude, you're so loud. Social awareness says, oh, there's a reason for that.
So social awareness, like SEC lady coming over and saying that your volume is bleeding.
I was working. I was on the clock, man. That's different. I get paid not to control my volume when I'm on the clock. Every job I have is getting paid not to control my volume on the clock.
I'm going really nerd here, but you have like Black Canary type volumes, maybe Black Bolt, who, when he should not speak, or there's a bubble of sound around you. Absolutely, there is.
I'd be offended, but it's true. April said people need to read the room. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I learned how to read the room. Texter says, Rob, I usually don't mind my children being a little rambunctious at a restaurant, but Friday I was over the edge with an over-the-top child while we were at the bar eating at my favorite pizza place. That's from Cocky for a reason. Okay, I do have one more rule. If there is a restaurant / bar, like a restaurant with a bar in it, right? Do not sit your kids at the bar. That is the only place that is adults only. The bar is for grown-ups. You take your kid to a table. I don't mind your kids being kids either, right? Like if I'm sitting at the table having dinner and your kid laughs or your kid's like, playing a game with his sibling or whatever, that's fine, man. That's fine. I'm good with that. I don't care about that. But if your kid is running circles around the restaurant and you're just like, isn't he adorable? No, he's not adorable. He's annoying. All right. And if your kid is blasting the Cocomelon at full volume, that's annoying. That's not adorable. It's obnoxious. Stop it. Just be better.
You are so lucky because of our stream situation that I cannot play the Cocomelon theme. If you were in studio, you would be getting that coming in and out of every break. But I can't do it now because it'll get us flagged. You got us kicked off for soccer. I'm not getting us kicked off for Cocomelon.
Texter says, Rob, okay, this is not me. I'm reading a text before anybody tries to pin this on me. Texter says, I just hate kids. Control your bleeping, where'd that text go? Control your bleeping kids or don't have them. Stupid bleeps. I'm about to call the Rise Guys FOF line to bring up kids. Where'd the rest of that text go? Oh, another texter said, what happened to parents entertaining their children or getting a babysitter? These people were probably on vacation and did not have a choice but to bring their kids. However, learn to keep them entertained quietly while in an adult environment. Listen, if you go on your vacation with your kids, and you should, right? You don't give up, though. You don't forfeit the right to a vacation. But just because you're on vacation doesn't mean you get to break the same rules you would have to follow if in your community, right? When you have a kid, you either learn to control that kid or you realize that you give up the adult aspects of it, right? I remember when I was like, I did not mean for this to take up freaking 30 minutes of the show, but here we are.
What,
I remember
your hatred of children. You didn't think that would take off?
Knock it off. Lonzo, knock it off. I remember when I was like 6 or 7 years old, my parents took me and my little brother on a Disney cruise, Lonzo. And I don't know if you've done the Disney cruise.
No, I'm not a 1%er. So, I mean, you know.
They're nice. The Disney cruises are nice. So we did a Disney cruise. And I remember a point in time where Bob and Rhonda, the parental units, would send me and the little brother off on what they called a Disney daytime adventure. And we would like go to this big room on the boat, and the Disney characters are there, and we would do like art and science experiments and stuff within this thing. And I thought, this is the greatest vacation ever, right? Like, I'm hanging out with Goofy and Mickey, and we're doing like science and stuff. This is amazing. And then I became an adult, and I realized, no. That wasn't about let's enrich the vacation of Rob and Sean, of the kids. That was, let's cram these kids into a daycare for a couple of hours so Bob and Rhonda could go have a drink on the beach and be grown-ups. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how it's done. That's how you do it. They gave us a place to go yell and scream and run around and be cheering so that they could do the adult stuff. But if you don't have that option, that doesn't mean you get to just bring your kids to yell and scream and go bananas when the adults are doing adult stuff. Right? If we're at a bowling alley and you bring your kids, let them go bananas. That's what bowling alleys are for. No problem. But if you bring them into a winery, no. That's not a place meant for that. Stop. Just stop. Kevin says, tell that bleep hole texter he was a bleeping kid himself one time. I am aware of that. We were all kids.
What
again,
makes you for sure believe that was a guy who texted that? We don't know.
Because I am willing to make that assumption, though I do not have the evidence to back it up. That's a fair point. And if that is a young lady saying that, power to the people. I'm just going to say that I was a kid, and now I'm not a kid anymore, and I want to do adult things not around your... Now, again, Uncle Rob likes to be the favorite. My goal when I hang out with people's kids is to make that kid like me more than their parents. I do it all the time. It's my favorite thing. But not at a winery, dude. Just not at a winery. Learn to entertain your kids, man. Just entertain your kids, all right? Texas said, everyone asks, oh, you don't want to have kids? Of course not. I'm going to stack as much money as I can and do whatever the hell I want. See? That guy gets it.
Yeah. Again, you're assuming it's a guy. It's I think it's a troll job. I think the person who's saying all that actually has 5 kids and hasn't been out of the house in like 3 years.
All right. 844-FAN phone, 844-FANFO, 844-326-3663. Text your thoughts to 71307, 71307. That texter, by the way, says, I am a male. Well, I'm not going to read the second half of that text, but let's just say he is, he just said he's not afraid to help you parent your kids at the bar if you're unwilling to do so. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, I am finishing this hour with sports. As much as I could do a full 3 hours on this topic, no doubt about it. Let's talk sports when we come back. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, Lonzo pointed out to me before the show started that there is an event going on this week that used to be one of the highlights of the sports calendar. And the last maybe year or two, it's really kind of fallen out of favor with us, the public. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, if we can figure out why. We'll do that when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Alonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate.
Hey, Greenville, Spartanburg. It's March Madness.
Catch March Madness.
Yes, he did, Kevin. I saw that. I'm surprised that we didn't start the show with Rob celebrating the loss.
Oh, it's coming. Prep sheet right there. It's on it. It's actually the only thing written on the prep sheet. Everything else is on the computer, except I wrote that out so I would not forget about it.
We just had a visit from the boss during the last segment, so making sure everything's good. You should be glad you're not here today because for some reason the air is not working correctly.
Oh, I am glad because I'm sweating my brains off and it's cold in this house. Do you think, like, does stress raise or lower your metabolism?
I think it raises for sure.
Does it?
Because stress raises your heart rate.
Yeah, it
And
should,
your heart rate,
theoretically.
when you exercise, you're trying to get your heart rate up. So I'm going to walk over there and hit that thermostat with a hammer.
As your attorney, don't advise that. That sounded interesting. Oh, we're coming to Kyle Busch in a little while, Kevin. That's on the prep sheet too. The reason I asked Hudson is since the accident on Saturday, which happened about 5:15 in the afternoon or so, 5 o'clock. I have eaten one time.
Dude, eat some food.
It's not because I don't like. I just sat. So I ate. I didn't eat Saturday after the accident. I literally came home.
You know those
Call the
things where you
insurance.
just pass out for no reason? Maybe it has something to do with, not eating. I'm just
It happened one
Possibly.
time.
Yeah,
One time.
maybe.
Okay, maybe twice.
maybe.
I didn't eat dinner Saturday night after the accident. I ate lunch yesterday before we got to the winery because obviously I don't want to bang down 7 glasses of wine with no food in me. We got home last night. I made a big bowl of chicken meatballs in the air fryer, and then I ate like 3 of them, and I was like, I'm not hungry, man. I'm just not hungry.
That sounds like something you need to get checked out. Or it's more proof that you're actually a robot. I mean, that could be part of it. I think my banging on the thing might have actually worked. I feel the air came on.
What's the old phrase? If it's stuck together and it's not supposed to be hit with a hammer, if it's not stuck together and it's supposed to be duct tape, if it's supposed to move, it doesn't, WD-40, and if none of those 3 things work, it's broken.
Hey, I'm with Hudson. You should order some Waffle House. It'll get there in time for you to eat it live on the air. Some smothered covered chunks. Why not? And then when you're done, I can finish the show while you're in another room in the house.
There's a movie on called The Dead Don't Die. Like, they're already dead though, so they already died.
So it's a zombie movie.
I'm assuming so.
Could be a ghost movie. Oh.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live on the Free Odyssey app. CBS Sports Radio. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
So Lonzo and I, wow, way to open the segment, Rob. Good strong intro there. So Lonzo and I were having a conversation before the radio show began. And Lonzo pointed out to me, and kind of blew my mind a little bit, TBH, that the NFL's draft combine starts today. Sincere, genuine, honest question. How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all were aware that the combine started today? Because I got to tell you, and granted, there has been a lot going on in my life over the past, 48 hours or so. I completely blanked that the combine opened today in Indianapolis. I am sitting here in the Casa de Love in the Bro Cave. I just tuned into the NFL Net to get set up to watch it. The combine is something that I have watched for many, many years. It is something I have very frequently tried to take time out of my regular day-to-day life to spend time on, specifically when I'm looking at the guys that are targeted as positions that my team specifically needs and will be available around the time that my team drafts. But honestly, it's nice to have a full profile together as somebody in this line of work before we get there. Now, I do think that part of the reason that the combine has fallen out of favor, though, is the amount of talent scouts, the amount of GMs in the past that have been kind of open, that have been kind of non-discreet with their breakdown of the combine, effectively saying that how many reps a guy can bench press does not tell me how well he sets in zone protection. The 40 speed of a wide receiver doesn't necessarily tell me how fast out of the blocks he can get when he's up against bump coverage, right? Like there have been there have been a lot more criticisms of the draft as a major talent scouting opportunity over the past couple of years than in years past. And I wonder if maybe that's got something to do with it. The other aspect of it is it's kind of gotten to the point where we know before the draft even happens what guys are going in what directions, right? Like we all know, scratch that. We are all relatively confident that Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are coming off the board 1 and 2 in either order, but coming off the board in 1 and 2. We know the names of the rest of the cats in the order that they're going to come off the board. We know our top 10 picks, etc. And there may be some fluctuation in the order may change, but you don't hear stories, Lonzo, about this kid was projected to be a early to mid second round guy, but he had such a great combine that now he's a middle first rounder. Like that doesn't happen anymore. And I wonder if, like anything else, a lack of drama in the combine is the reason that a lot of people just don't pay attention to it like we used to do.
I think that's part of it. I think another part of it, there's been a lot of talk about getting rid of it altogether and just doing pro days because a lot of these guys would rather do pro days. I think you show more by going to the combine if you're a quarterback or someone like that because you get to work with different receivers, see how you adjust to having new guys around because when they go to the NFL, they're not going to, chances are, they're not going to be throwing to the guy that they've been throwing to for the last 4 or 5 years or however many years it's been. But I think you can hurt yourself by going there and doing poorly.
Yeah, and again, I think that's part of it. Like we see a lot of guys that show up and don't do the full combine, right? Like you told me earlier, Bryce Young's announced that he's not going to throw at the combine. And there's a good reason for that, right? Bryce Young is considered the most accurate quarterback in this draft already. So showing up and throwing doesn't really help Bryce Young. There's nothing he can do at the combine that's going to help the guy. But I think it's fair to say, if Bryce Young is going to show up to the combine but not throw, as a fan, what the hell's my incentive to watch, right? Just watch him run a 40?
That looks bad on you if you're a quarterback. I mean, if you're going to choose to throw at your pro day, just don't go to the combine.
Yeah, I mean, I get the premise. I don't.
The other reason why you go to the combine is the stuff that we don't see, the interactions that the scouts get to have, and all those kind of guys get to have with the players themselves. And maybe you can gauge a little bit more by seeing how they interact with other guys and that kind of stuff, more so than what you could when you get them in that interview process and things like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Listen, I think the behind-the-scenes stuff, honestly, is probably more important than the stuff that happens in front of the camera. I absolutely think that the sit-down interviews with teams has a much larger impact on who gets drafted where than 40 times, right? I think that the little pop quizzes, the little tests that they give these kids has a bigger influence on where they get drafted than how many reps they throw up on the 225-pound bench press. I do, but looking at it from that perspective, which I entirely agree with, Lonzo, none of that's on camera. None of that's for us as fan consumption, right? Like, I cannot tell you how quickly I would tune in. And they'll never do this, right? Because I honestly think this would be something that if a player failed at it would be more humiliating than if they don't set the bench press record for the draft at their position. I cannot tell you how quickly I would tune in if one of the things they put on television was they put all the kids in the room to take one of these team tests, and then they put the test up on the screen for us to take it home as well, right? Like, I would be all over that. I would have a ball with that, but it probably doesn't translate to great television. So all we have is the physical aspects. You have a lot of guys that do not partake in a lot of the physical aspects of it. And the NFL draft has gone from a calendar mark day for us, right? Like, we used to circle combine start day in red on the calendar, and now here we are, day one of the combine, and ain't a one of y'all texted, called, emailed me, or tweeted me asking me questions about the combine.
Well, by the way, they're there, but they're not good. We won't see anything till Thursday. So we still got a couple days for this to kind of heat up. I did see on the schedule, and I just took it down, that linemen and running backs are on the last day. I thought that was usually DBs. So on Sunday, you can see linemen and running backs. I kind of want to see that. I like watching the linemen try to do things that they'll never have to do in a game.
Them sturdy fellas.
Exactly.
Love the sturdy fella 40. Sturdy fella 40 should be like, we should make that an official race. Forget running the 40, but line them all up at the goal line and see what happens.
You see some of those guys, you're like, that's not a guard. That guy looks like a tight end. Look how slim he is. Back in the 80s when they weighed like 400 pounds. Yeah.
So how many of you guys are paying any attention to the combine at all? How many of you guys are paying attention to the combine? How many of you are going to tune into the combine? How many of you care about the combine? I will still watch it, right? Like, I've got the NFL Net on here at the house right now to get ready for it. How many of y'all give two single hoots about the NFL Draft Combine? Has it gone out the window in terms of popularity? Let's take a break. When we come back, I got a little early Braves baseball for you. Two stories to get into. Number one, the Braves Vegas over-under total is out. I want to break that down for you coming up here in a few minutes. And the Braves were the first team to be victimized into an L in the preseason because of the new rules. Good, bad, ugly, and different. We'll talk about that next as well on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. The Fan Upstate.
Got to get used to pushing all the extra buttons again.
All the extra buttons.
I'm sorry you can't hear the Big Lou commercial because I know how much you love that.
He needs meds too.
He does. See, I'm with you, Brandon. I do like watching to see how the Ohio State guys do, see how the South Carolina guys do, stuff like that. And see oh crap, I didn't know that he was a senior and not on the team anymore. Who doesn't want to watch Run, Rich, Run?
I mean, that's the highlight of the draft now, isn't it? The Rich Eisen 40.
Especially when Dion runs backwards next to him. That was
And still
hilarious
wins.
when that happened. Yeah. With bad feet and all.
Be right back.
That'll happen, Kevin. But the good part about it is they replay it, so you can probably watch it later on in the night.
If you have pain from arthritis or injury, this may be the solution you're looking for. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. It was a game changer. Call QC Kinetics. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. Without the ones like you.
Yeah, Rob's flaunting the hat collection. I mean, not everyone can pull that off.
Yeah, I got a good hack. It wraps down this wall all the way to this corner of the room too, and I've got like 6 more I gotta hang. Got my new box of hooks to put up a few more.
And he will like pull a hat off and wear it. It's not.
Oh yeah,
just for
they
show.
all get worn. I got hats for every color, match every pair of shoes. I do have a couple of old hats that I don't really wear that much anymore. I got a couple of hats novelty. Like I got a Red Sox hat that I never wear, but I got it at Fenway Park. So it was really just a souvenir. But the Beantown hat's right there. The Spartanburgers hat's right there. My Dollywood hat, that gets rocked. The Dollywood cap gets rocked a lot. Got the Burns Rebels cap. And then all my golf hats are from this wall over. Actually, I lied to you. I said it comes this wall. It's that wall, this wall, and the wall in front of me all the way around the room.
What happens if you run out of wall?
I'm just about out of wall. Once I get to, I think I can hang like 4 more, and then I gotta start making some aesthetic decisions. I do have, like up here atop my over the window, I've got some room, but I have my shot ski hanger up there, so I got to take the shot ski down to hang more hats up there.
Exactly, Brandon, because you think you know everybody that's already declared for the draft, and then there's always that one guy that sneaks in and you go, oh no, I thought we had him again next year. And then it's like, oh, I hope he goes to Kansas City or he goes to Carolina or whatever team you pull for. But you're still kind of sad for your college team. According to Schefter, several teams have already reached out to Chicago about trading for the.
We're coming to that in just a little while.
The official sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan. CBS Sports Radio. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Man, check this out.
You're on
I have to take it out for a second. I was just thinking about something. The WWE stuff. Don't want to get flagged.
Oh.
The Fan Upstate.
Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show is here. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, is behind the board today in the Palatial Radio Ranch. I am broadcasting from the Casa de Love primarily because I am that's not true. I am not immobile. I am getting around just fine. The problem is I can't get very far. For those of you that did not know, got involved in a pretty gnarly car accident over the weekend. The poor little Jeep S No Mas. It is sitting in a scrapyard waiting for the final decision on its fate, unfortunately. So your boy is at the house today. May or may not be here for a couple of days moving forward. But alas, the show rolls on. Ladies and gentlemen, the stream is still up and live at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, and now on YouTube at the Fan Upstate as well, which you should go to the YouTube page and subscribe, because not only is the show live, but both local shows will be popping up some content on the YouTube page moving forward as well. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube station. Go to YouTube, search for the Fan Upstate, hit subscribe. You can watch all 3 hours every day live and get some behind the scenes material moving forward as well.
You know, Rob, this would be a perfect opportunity for an enterprising salesperson downstairs to who has a prospective car dealership that would like to come on the Fan Upstate, because they could have Rob Brown drive around one of their cars right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the official dealership of Rob being at work. It's a pretty catchy tag. It really is, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. No, I will let you guys know what happens next in the saga of the lost vehicle, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm here. I'm rolling. Play like a champion today. Slap the sign. We still got a show to do. We still got work to do. So let us get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with this. Baseball has thrown its new rules into place. And in fact, they have been giving them the old testing during spring training. Well, the Atlanta Braves took on the Boston Red Sox in their opening spring game. The Braves were down by 3 runs going into the bottom of the 9th. It was 6-3, and the Bravos put up 3 runs to go level at 6 runs apiece. And not only that, but had the bases loaded with 2 outs. Cal Conley stepped into the box, a 4th-round draft pick in 2021, a non-roster invitee to camp, had an opportunity to get something done. By the way, my man Zach just showed up in the stream, and I try not to interrupt my segments, train wreck my segments by reading y'all's comments while I'm in the midst of a topic, but
yeah, that's my job, but
right.
Zach took care of it for us.
Zach showed up and said, "I'm glad you're okay, Rob. Sorry the accident did that to your face, bro." Cool. Thanks, Zach. Love you too, buddy. Love you too. Cal Conley stepped into the box. Full count. 2 outs. Bases loaded. Bottom of the 9th. Any hit brings in the winning run. So would a walk. So would an HBP. Cal Conley climbs into the box with the count full. And with 8 seconds left on the pitch clock, Cal Conley looked down at his shoes to get scraped into the box where he wanted to be. Well, one of the aspects of the new rule is that the batter must be looking and engaged with the pitcher when the pitch clock hits 8 seconds, right? The batter must be prepared to receive the pitch as the pitcher is ready to deliver it. The batter, Cal Conley, was not looking at the pitcher when the 8 seconds were left on the pitch clock, and thus a violation of the new rule was put in place. The result of that new rule is a strike. In this case, strike 3. And Cal Conley was sat down in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs, which meant, for those of you keeping score in the Rob Brown Show home edition, that the game was over. A pitch clock violation by the batter resulted in the 3rd strike, which resulted in the 3rd out, which resulted in the end of that game at 6-6. Now, we did not go, I don't even know if we went extra innings or not because I was working, so I did not get a chance to watch this spring game. But I do know that had this been a real game and had the score been 6-5 instead of tied up at 6-6, the game would have been over and the Bo Sox would have walked out there with a win, the final play being a batter pitch clock violation. Let me just say, though, that I'm actually fine with, I think, all of the new rules, right? I'm fine with the larger bases. The front edge of the base is still set at the same distance that it was previously, right? It is still 90 feet from home plate to base, and from base to base. I got no problem with bigger bases. Frankly, it doesn't impact the game at all, in my opinion. I got no problem with the pitch clock at all. I think we probably need to fine-tune it a little bit as we go on, but I don't really have a big problem with the pitch clock. Because as James just popped into the stream and said, I'm all for games not taking 6 hours. Now, if I go to a baseball game, I'm fine with that game lasting 6 hours because I'm at the game. That's what I want to do today. But if I'm sitting at home and it's Wednesday at 7 p.m. when the Braves go first pitch, yeah, I don't want to be up till 10:30, 11 o'clock watching the game. Let's get it in by 2.5 to 3 hours and call it a day. However, what I don't think can be allowed to happen, is a situation where the game is dictated based on a foul. And before one of you smat guys fires off the text that says, but wait a minute, Rob, wasn't it just a few weeks ago in a National Football League game when the Kansas City Chiefs were awarded a first down due to a holding penalty in the Super Bowl that was kind of ticky-tack? Wasn't it you who said, hey, if a penalty happens on the last play of the game, it's still a penalty, even if you don't like it, even if it's ticky-tack, right? And the answer is yes, of course. This is not the same thing, right? This is not an egregious violation of the rules that prevents any other player from doing their job well. Now,
come on. Get in the box, stay in the box. Keep eye contact, do your thing. The only reason why you need to get out of the box is if you got brushed back. If not, get in there and do. That's why they put this rule. You know the rules there. This will cost some games, and then hopefully MLB will acclimate to the point where the guys realize they can't do what they've always done. They got to get in there and do what the people came to see. You actually swing the bat, not step out, adjust everything, look at your cleats, make sure there's not a speck of dust on your toes. Get in there and hit the ball.
I'm fine with that, right? Like if we are going to have this rule in place, that is going to create a situation where this happens, to me, it is as much on the batter. I absolutely do not disagree with the batter needs to be in the box, right? Like to me, the way it needs to work is if the batter's not in the box, the pitch timer doesn't roll, right? Like if the batter's, it only benefits the batter to have less time between pitches. The batter is better off by the pitch clock. The pitcher having less time to shake off signs, to accept a sign, to go through a long pitching motion, to try to razzle-dazzle you by moving the glove a little bit while he's going through his motion. All these things that pitchers do give them the advantage. It benefits the batter to be in the box and shortening up the time between pitches because it takes away from the pitcher's advantage in that situation. But I think the payoff here, the trade, the compromise here, in my opinion, has got to be that the clock only rolls while the batter's in the box, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to have the pitch clock rolling while the batter's not in the box. And if the batter's in the box and calls timeout and steps out of the box, the pitch clock should not only stop, the pitch clock should reset, right? Like, if you are standing in the box with 9 seconds left and you're looking at the pitcher and the batter puts the hand up to the umpire and calls timeout and is awarded that timeout by the umpire, because keep in mind, a batter requesting timeout does not mean that he's automatically given the timeout. The timeout must be granted by the official, by the umpire behind the dish. But if the batter gives the old hand talk to the hand because the face don't want to hear it and calls time and is awarded the time and steps out of the box, the clock should stop and should be reset to the full 15 seconds at that point. If the batter is in the box, then I frankly don't care where he is looking, right? Like, once you're in the box, at that point, it is your responsibility to be prepared for the pitch. If you step into the box and that's where you use the bat to ding the dirt off the spikes, or to situate your elbow protector pad, or to pull the helmet down, if you do all that inside of the box, dude, you're on that time. You are on the clock. As soon as the batter steps into the box, the pitcher should be able to rock and fire immediately. I am fine with the 15-second pitch clock. I don't need these 35, 45, 50-second duels between the pitcher and the batter to see who can outpatient each other before the pitch is thrown. But this kind of stuff can't happen. And again, Zoe, I think it's great that this happened. Not because the Braves lost. It's a spring game. I don't care. But these are the types of things that we need to get the kinks ironed out, right? Like, this is the time to figure out what the wrinkles are, to figure out where the problems are, to get them ironed out. Because what I don't want is on March, 12th or whatever opening day is, 15th, April 1st, whatever opening date is, I'm not sure off the top of my head. What I don't need is on opening day to be in a situation where it's Braves-Mets in a divisional game, in a division where the race to 97 might be the race to a divisional crown, and have a team lose a divisional game because a batter is in the box but his head's looking down at the dish instead of at the pitcher with 8 seconds left. That's where you're going to end up creating havoc with these new rules. Let's take this, analyze it, figure out what the solution is, and have it streamlined by the time we go first pitch on opening day.
Well, here's the thing. So if you saw that, I think that was great that happened. Now the rest of the MLB can look and go, okay, on March 30th, when this whole thing tips off, kicks off, whatever it is, on opening day, when the first pitch is thrown, if you get in the box, you stay in the box. You look away, that's on you. Adjust to the rule, get good at the rule. I hope this rule never goes away, because if it actually does speed up the game, then you're going to get more people watching. Because nothing makes me more angry, whether it's T-ball, softball, baseball, than someone taking forever between pitches. So annoying.
I will not disagree with that. I would not argue with that. I think that overall, speeding up the game is fine. Joey B just popped into the chat. He said, on the other hand, Max Scherzer struck out a guy in 27 seconds Saturday. He's going to eat people alive with the pitch clock. Yeah. Listen, just like any other change in the rules, there are going to be guys that this treats exceptionally well, and there are going to be guys that get hammered by this rule, right? Like, I'm interested to see Kenley Jensen, right? former Braves closer, pitched with the Dodgers as well. Jensen's a guy that because of his pitch motion, he's the one that had that real weird hip twist that he would do, right? Gets into the stretch, sets up, does the weird hip twist, and then takes another 2 or 3. That guy's got such a long delivery that I can't imagine this rule is going to go great for him. Like, he's got to be in his motion with 9 seconds on the clock, or he's not going to get it completed unless he retinkers and changes it up. But at the same time, I'm fine with that because I don't need an hour tacked onto the game because one pitcher's got to go through a 30-second pitch momentum every time it's time for him to toss the rock. There are guys like Scherzer who are just rock and fire pitchers, right? Give me the ball, step on the bump, rock and fire. Let's go. It's going to be interesting to see how individual players all adapt and relate and overcome to all of this new rule. But I just can't have a game end on a batter pitch clock violation because his head wasn't pointed the right direction at the time of the snap, right? Could you imagine this rule in any other? Could you imagine, Lonzo, if they called an illegal procedure on Patrick Mahomes because with 3 seconds on the play clock, the defensive back wasn't looking at the football, right? Like, that would be such a terrible rule. The pitch clock is fine, but there's got to be a different solution to this. And I think the easiest one is once the batter, Joey B just said it. I'm so glad but mad you said it because you beat me to it. Joey B said, I'm a fan of the banana ball rule that once a hitter is in the box, he can't leave. I agree. Like, that should be a rule. The batter can take the time he needs to get in the box. But once he's in the box, he's in the box. There's no pulling out of the box. There's no timeouts. There's no let me step out and ding my cleats again. Once you're in the box, you can't leave it again until the next pitch.
So here's the thing, all the people complain about MLB is a game of tradition and they don't want to get with the times and now that they're starting to make changes, when they make changes like this, that's a significant change. Some people get upset about it. They're modernizing the game. They're speeding up the game. I don't see there's any problem with it. Hopefully it cost a bunch of teams a bunch of games, and that's how they'll fall in the line and realize they're taking the rule seriously.
See,
they have 182 games or something like that. You lose a couple games because of that, you're gonna fall in the line. You're gonna start realizing they're enforcing the rule. If they enforce the rule down the line for every game.
See, and listen, I'm not arguing or disagreeing with that at all. I understand that standpoint, that philosophy. I just can't have a game end that way because of that situation, because a batter's not looking at the pitcher with eights. That's like it's an arbitrary random spot to pick to be a hill to die on, right? I think it's very easily solved, and I think it's very easily solved by once you're in the box, you're in the box, right? You can look wherever the hell you want to look. If you're a batter, I would advise you to be looking at the pitcher because of the whole, he's going to throw the pitch thing. Like, it doesn't really make sense. But if you need to get some signals from the third base coach, after the next pitch is thrown, once you take that cut or you watch the ball go by, once that ball goes by, then you can step out of the box, evaluate the situation, look at the third base coach. I really think there needs to be 2 clocks, right? Like, once the pitcher gets the ball, there should be a 10-second clock on the batter. You have 10 seconds to evaluate everything. Get your signal from your third base coach or your first base coach. Get your dugout signal. See where they're playing on the field, where you're going to try to hit it. Then once you're in the box, start a 15-second pitcher clock. The pitcher's got 15 seconds, no matter what, to throw the ball. You get, I don't know how you change the pitch out rule. I'll have to evaluate that once that comes into play. But I guess the point that I'm making here, Lonzo, is the solutions seem very simple. The solutions seem right there in front of us. The solutions seem like they're pretty easy to enact. I can't get to the regular season and have divisional games being left because a batter's head's not facing in the right direction as opposed to the dude got rung up.
Some of the reasons why I don't like baseball, they're actually starting to fix. If they fix those things, guess what happens, Rob? You start bringing some people in who didn't like it for that reason. So would you rather keep those fans away or bring those fans in? Because you want baseball to grow, not to go the opposite. So it's coming into the modern world, fixing things the way they need to be fixed. Get in the box, stay in the box. You got a clock, follow the clock, keep your eye contact, hit the ball or don't. I don't care if it speeds the game up.
Fair enough. All right, what are y'all's thoughts? You have now seen the new clock rule in rotation. You have now seen it directly change up the game. You have now seen it directly impact the game. Will that change anything? Texter says, Rob, the pitch clock is straight garbage, end quote. I don't think it is straight garbage, but I think it needs. I think it's going to need some cleaning up, right? I think like anything else, the first time you throw something into the mix, it's got the potential to be more problematic than you intended it to be, right? Problematic consequences are a reality, but that's why we're doing it in spring training. Let's figure this thing out. I'm not mad the Braves lost the game. Now, how much different is that game if Cal Conley gets a hit? That's a big moment for him, right? That's a potential roster-making moment for a guy like Cal Conley, and he had that opportunity taken away. If that happens in the regular season and the Braves lose that game, and then they go on to lose the NL East by a half a game to a very good New York Mets team, now we got a problem, right? And that's why I think we got to deal with it. All right, we'll talk more about that later on in the week. Let's run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, I got a few more things I want to get into. I'm not going to do it next, but I'm going to go ahead and prepare it now. I'm going to set the table for later. Jake Paul fought a real boxer this weekend, you guys. And you'll never guess what happened when Jake Paul fought an actual boxer instead of a washed-up MMAer. But I'll tell you, because that's the kind of guy I am on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Made for upstate sports junkies. You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show.
Now 9 to noon.
The Fan Upstate.
All right, stream, be back in just a minute. Don't go nowhere. All right, dudes and dudettes, we are back. His get back coach. Luke, what's up, buddy? Welcome in. James, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you coming by as always. Thank you very much.
Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show.
Only on the Fan.
The Fan.
Upstate.
Question for you here, Lonzo. If a guy wins an MVP award, pick your professional league of choice. If a guy wins an MVP award and then runs it back the next year and has a really good year, but there's another guy who has almost as good of a year, right? Like almost as good. Not quite, but almost as good, is clearly the MVP of his team, maybe his division, maybe his conference, but just not quite as good. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it fair to have a situation where you give it to that guy because you don't want to award back-to-back MVPs?
Okay, so I don't know what sport you're talking about because you haven't said yet, but if it's the NBA, it's the Michael Jordan rule, because Michael Jordan could have won it every year, just like LeBron James could have won it for many, many years, and somebody else got it. So really, it's the award for the second best player.
I think that's fair. But here is what's interesting here. Nikola Jokic is probably the best basketball player in the NBA that never gets brought into the best basketball player in the NBA conversation, right? Every time we have this conversation, the discussion we have is who? We talk about LeBron, we talk about Giannis, we talk about Joel Embiid, we talk about Dame Lillard. Well, we should talk about Dame Lillard, probably not as much as we should talk about Nikola Jokic, but we never talk about a guy that is threatening to be the fourth player in NBA history to win 3 MVP awards in a row. He's won the last 2. The only other players who have won a trip, Larry Bird in 84, 85, and 86, Wilt Chamberlain in 66, 67, 68, and Bill Russell in 61, 62, 63. That's pretty elite company to be in. The 2 MVPs he has already won were followed by a second-round playoff loss in 2021 and a first-round loss in a sweep last year to the Golden State Warriors. But the MVP award is a regular season award. The question mark I have here is Nikola Jokic has won 2 in a row, and there are arguments going on right now that despite the fact that Nikola Jokic is absolutely dominant, when he got picked for the All-Star game, LeBron James called him a walking triple-double, and that's exactly what the guy is. But Nikola Jokic is everything you want out of a basketball player, right? Do you remember, Zoe, I think 2 seasons ago, there was the incident that Nikola Jokic just absolutely wrecked a dude who gave him a body check under the basket, walking away from a shot, and Nikolai went full left guard and just blasted him at half court. And there was talk about they can't have that, can't do that, can't. And I'm like, I mean, the dude kind of set himself up for it. He's tough-nosed. He's got physicality. He rebounds the hell out of the ball, out of the basketball, and is a better assist guy underneath the basket and at the mid-range level than a lot of power forwards and point forwards across this league. Nikola Jokic is everything you want when you described the ideal big man, and yet I'm sitting here reading quotes from different reports saying that there are guys thinking they might not give Nikola Jokic the MVP award because of voter fatigue, right? They're tired of giving their vote to the same guy 3 consecutive years in a row. I don't know who the hell else gets it, right? I mean, there's a lot of important players. LeBron's up there, but he's missed so many games due to injury and whatnot that I don't know if I can give it to him. Steph Curry is in the midst of his second extended period of time away due to injury. Donovan Mitchell, maybe, but like Donovan Mitchell's not doing what Nikola Jokic is doing. There is nobody else, with the exception of maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo, that you could give this award to. But I think that's a really bad reason not to do it. The guy, as we just mentioned, again, a walking triple-double. James said, here's a suggestion for the 2-time MVP. Get out of the first round of the playoffs. And I don't disagree. Nikolai's repeated playoff failures are going to haunt him until he gets it done. But the MVP award is a regular season award, and I defy you to name me a player in the NBA right now having a better regular season individually than Nikola Jokic, because you can't do it. If anybody else gets the MVP award, Lonzo, it will be a joke and a disaster, in my opinion.
I think what helps him also hurts him, because he's kind of, even though he's been the MVP a couple years in a row, he's kind of under the radar because he's not a play above the rim guy. You don't get 10,000 highlights from him every single week. He's not on SportsCenter, although he is quite a bit, but not in the way with the kind of flair that some of those other guys have. And I use flair on purpose. The thing is, if you have the Ric Flair kind of mentality, the Ric Flair kind of everyone knows you're here kind of showing out type of thing, maybe he doesn't get the award, because that's one of the reasons why LeBron and Michael Jordan didn't get it so much, because you talked about fatigue. He flies under the radar, but he's the best guy in the NBA. And how is this voted on? I mean, don't the players have a big say in this?
I believe this is another one of the combination awards. It is voted on by a panel of around 100 media members who cover the league. So it's a media given award.
Okay.
Let's see here. Yeah. Now, in fairness, ESPN's Tim Bontemps is saying that voters are not tired of Nikola Jokic, and that's fine. Like, I want that concept of, voter fatigue isn't real. But like I said, I've seen a handful of editorials elsewhere from guys saying, well, I talked to a couple of MVP voters and they're kind of fatigued, not just because of Nikola Jokic, but because of the fact that they give the award to a guy who keeps getting bounced in the first or the second round of the playoffs, right? And it's like, yeah, I get that. But again, would the Nuggets be in the first or the second round of the playoffs if it wasn't for Nikola Jokic? Probably not. And by that point in the season, and more importantly, when you can zone in on one particular team for a stretch of games in a row, of course you're going to develop a game plan to slow that guy down a little bit, which is why teams in the NBA that frequently win the title, I mean, yeah, they got a Braun, they got a Steph Curry, but you got to have other options, right? Because at some point, you just play hack a Shaq, you just play hack a Giannis, you just play hack a Steph, and somebody's got to pick up the momentum. The Nuggets are a good team. They're not exceptionally deep, right? They're not exceptionally deep. You're looking at Nikolai, you're looking at Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. hit a game-winning step-off three last night. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon. They're all good players, but I don't think any of them are the type of dude that if Jokic goes down, the Nuggets can be like, all right, next up, we're going to be just fine. You focus on Nikola Jokic and take him away, and nobody else is able to fill that gap. It's kind of a big problem. And the fact that you know that's happening in the regular season and Nikola Jokic still can't be stopped, is still putting up triple-doubles, that dude's got to be the MVP, and anything else would be an injustice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. He is one of the best guys in the game, and he doesn't get mentioned like he should. But MVP always seems to be, if you take that guy off the team, what's the team? And if you take that guy off this team, as you just pointed out, team's probably going to struggle.
Oh, and by the way, just in case you had any questions about how good and how important Nikola Jokic is right now, ladies and gentlemen, the Denver Nuggets are the number one seed in the West, and they are number one by a stretch of 5.5 games right now. They are they are the only team in the West that has not lost 20 games yet. The Grizz are in second. They are 36-23. They are a game and a half up on the third place Kings, who are 3 games up on the Suns, who are a half game up on the Clippers, who are a half game up on the Mavs, who are a half game up on the Warriors, who are a half game up on the Jazz, who are a half game up on the Timberwolves and the Pelicans, who are a half game up on the Trailblazers right now. So everybody else down the rest of the stretch, from 2nd to 12th, are separated by 8.5 games. From 2nd to 12th, 8.5 games. The Nuggets are 5.5 up on the second place team. That's how good, that is how well Nikola Jokic has been playing this year. There are some other exceptionally talented players. The Grizz would not be the Grizz without Ja Morant, right? Kevin Durant can't be considered for this as of right now. I don't think the Clips have a guy. Luka could be in the conversation, but adding Kyrie to it probably dings his cause a little bit. I don't know who the hell you give it to except Nikola Jokic. And if you don't vote for Nikola Jokic this year, whether it's because of voter fatigue or anything else, it will be a straight up, for sure, definite injustice against the league. That's how strongly I feel about it. Let's run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, got a few more things that I want to get into. Jake Paul fought a boxer for the first time. We'll talk about that in the next hour. But coming up next, we've done baseball. We've done shooty hoops. Now I get to a little bit of NASCAR on the most well-rounded sports talk radio show in South Carolina. It's Rob, it's Lonzo, it's you, it's the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate.
Hey, Greenville, Spartanburg, March Madness.
Catch March Madness
Only on the
I
Fan.
gotta grab something, guys. I will be right back.
Her employee kept on payroll during COVID-19. GetRefunds.com has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC. And they may be able to help your business too. There's no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business gets its refund. Many businesses believe they won't qualify based on incomplete or outdated information. So don't let this opportunity pass you by, because the payroll tax refund is only available for a limited time. Go to GetRefunds.com. That's GetRefunds.com.
There are so many reasons to get hooked on Church's 8-piece shrimp meal. It's simple, crunchable, downright irresistible, and it starts at $5.99. The only catch, it's only here for a limited time. Church's Texas Chicken. Welcome to the great state of flavor.
When looking for a partner in your property search, know that agents who are realtors are different. Realtors are bound by a code of ethics, putting your best interests first. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
3 people you should be 100% certain about: your barber, your plumber, and your tax pro. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and you can be 100% certain about your taxes. We'll get you your maximum refund guaranteed, and we'll back your return for life. You'll be kind of certain or almost certain. Be 100% certain. Switch to Jackson Hewitt today and get 50% off tax prep. Limited time offer for new clients. Locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms. AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination. Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running.
You're absolutely right, James. It is work, because everything's work, as you pointed out.
They all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here.
Except for Rob being at home. That's not work. He's actually at home.
I am at home.
But a couple of years ago, you'd be getting cracks about your being in grandma's living room, and now you got
Nothing more.
this in the
Got the
background.
cave now.
Yeah. "30 seconds.
From the Ingles Market Studio, the
97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
always live on the Free Odyssey app. CBS Sports Radio. Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show wrapping up hour number 2 here on the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, and all around the world for free on the Odyssey app, which, by the way, I need you to download the Odyssey app. I know you got a million apps on your phone and you don't want to add more, but I need you to grab the Odyssey app, and here is why. Because coming up this week, and I very much look forward to the first one, and I'm gonna pick an event, right? I haven't decided which one yet, but I'm going to pick an event that we're going to knock out soon. We have a new feature called Odyssey Go Live, and I'm very excited about it. It is Odyssey's version of Twitter Spaces. For those of you that have seen that, if you haven't, don't worry, I'll explain it to you. The concept is kind of rad. Basically, you go into the app, and I can create a broadcast, right? I can create a broadcast that comes to your phone over the air. It's not a radio broadcast. It just goes over your phone to the app. And what it allows us to do is effectively hold kind of a public forum, right? Like, I get to interact with you guys. There is a chat box there so that you can chat with other listeners who are engaged and involved with that Go Live. And on top of that, I can bring you guys in to chat with us. I can bring you guys in to talk with us. I can bring in you guys to engage, to interact with me, to interact with other listeners. We can be watching, debating, talking about anything. I have considered doing this in the past when wrestling shows conclude. I almost did it yesterday during the NASCAR race, but of course I was a little bit busy dealing with my own bump draft, we'll call it. But we've got this. I'm trying to make jokes about it, Lonzo, because if I don't, it's going to make my head explode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. It's at least you didn't call it rubbing.
Yes.
It was a little more than rubbing.
Rubbin's racing. So anyway, grab the Odyssey app, AUDACY, AUDACY. We can go live at any point, talk about different events, talk about different situations, and just have some fun with it. Just have some fun with it. You guys can interact with me, other hosts that might jump in, and we will do this kind of sporadically and randomly. Whenever the feeling comes up, we can just have a conversation, and I very much look forward to it. So, grab that Odyssey app, AUDACY, and make sure it's on your phone. Make sure you have the push alerts on so that when I go live, it will pop those push notifications to you so that we can interact with each other away from just the 3 hours that we are on the air every day. All right. I'm going to try to win you guys some free money here, and I am going to do it by calling my shot now. I know that we are very early in the season. We have 2 races in the books at NASCAR. We have the Daytona 500, and we had Fontana this past weekend, which, by the way, I watched a little bit of this morning because I didn't get a chance to yesterday. It was a good race. It was a good, well-run race very late down the stretch. Kyle Busch ended up taking home the W yesterday in just his second race with RCR. Now, why, pray tell, I'm trying to use all my big literary expressions for Lonzo today. Why, pray tell, would we be talking about this? And the answer is because I want to put some coin down. And you may or may not want to join me on this, but I want to put some coin down on Kyle Busch to be your NASCAR Series champion this year. Kyle Busch at the Daytona 500, with 5-6 laps to go, was running first in that race and was doing so alongside Austin Dillon, his new teammate at RCR. Kyle Busch ended up checking in well down the leaderboard despite being up so late in the race. Now, that is Daytona. That's just sometimes just how it works. But I think there were a bunch of lessons learned there for Kyle Busch, learning to interact with his new team, with his new chief, with his new teammates, with his new ride. Remember, he moved over from Toyota into a Chevrolet this year. There was one massive mistake made in that race, right? The one massive mistake that was made was we went to a caution very late in the race. We went to a caution very late in the race, and Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, his teammate, were hooked up and then decided with the new choose rule, right? For those of you that don't know what that means, competitors are allowed to choose which lane they would like to go in for the restart. But the way that they choose is, before the start-finish line, there's a little triangle pointed on the ground. And you have to get into the high lane or the low lane, the inside or the outside lane, before you cross that triangle. You can go to either one of them, but you have to be in that lane before you cross the triangle. So everybody lines up single file, and based on the decisions ahead of you, you decide if you want to go high or low. For some reason that to this day I do not understand, Kyle and Austin decided one to go high, one to go low, right? And the premise I thought was, all right, you want to get hooked back up, but you don't want to do it in a way that if one of you doesn't get a great restart, the inside or the outside lane just steamrolls you, right? Which makes sense in that situation, but not great, because in order for that to work, Austin Dillon's got to hold off the line. He's got to let Kyle Busch get ahead of him. He's got to pull out front. And at Daytona, notorious for going 3 or 4 wide into turns. That's not a guarantee. Well, it didn't work out. They got separated. Kyle Busch drifted back, involved in the accident late. In this race at Fontana, a race that is far more reliant on the individual skills of the competitor versus the ability to hook up with the right car at the right time, Kyle Busch in his new Chevrolet were phenomenal. Oh, by the way, keep in mind that Kyle Busch at Daytona was running in a backup car, right? He got wrecked out in the qualifiers. He had to go to a backup car. So in a backup car, dude was holding the lead with just laps to go. So, Kyle Busch, in the first race that really is determined more by the individual talent of the driver, as opposed to the teamwork of a squad of drivers, Kyle Busch won that race. Outright won that race. Kyle Busch came into this year feeling a little bit angry and disrespected by the contract talk with his old team. He felt conflicted by having to make the move. He has always felt disrespected. He uses that as motivation. And that dude channeled that into not just winning the race, but holding off 2 of NASCAR's best, Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain, in that white flag run where he was able to build up a full 3-point-something seconds of separation in races that are very frequently won by tenths of a second. Kyle Busch is not only on a different level right now as a driver, but on top of being on a different level of as a driver, is in better equipment, is running a Chevy, of which there are more of them on the track to help him out. This guy is your NASCAR champion. I have put it onto my bold prediction sheet. Let's take a break. We'll come back and run through the third final best money hour of the Rob Brown Show next, right here on the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Now 19 noon.
Offsides with Mark Ryan, 3 to 7 p.m. Real sports talk for real sports fans.
Only on the Fan Upstate.
Doesn't everybody slam their head into their microphone routinely, or is it just me?
On purpose or accidentally?
No, it was an accident. I'm dumb, but I'm not hurt myself on purpose dumb.
There are some of those people out there. I'm sure they're not listening to us because, by the way, the air hasn't improved in here. It's, as some people would say, it's sultry up in here. The underwear is nearly soggy.
Gross.
Not a good time.
Gross.
It's also reaching the socks.
Gross. Somehow grosser.
No, I don't. Well, for you, I don't like wet socks either. But when it's not. You walk in the hall, the contrast is it's like walking outside in the winter. Be nice and comfortable for everybody else. James, I ain't some big city lawyer either. I'm just someone from down here in the South. Just plying my trade the best as I can. There's a lot of attention on lawyers in the South right now. So,
Yeah, I haven't decided if we're doing a Murdoch segment yet or not.
I'm just loosely keeping track of it because I also, have this concern like I do a lot of times. When it's in your neighborhood, so to speak, you don't know who's listening.
True.
And, you might end up in the river or something, just one of those things. Oh, when the verdict happens, I'm sure we probably need to, but that's a little ways away.
An official is the Rob Brown Show. Get Rob. Only on
The Fan Upstate.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do? I am Rob Brown. The great Malonzo is on the board on the other side of a very, very large piece of metaphorical glass. He is inside the palatial studios of the Radio Ranch. I am currently at the Casa de Love. Unfortunately, the birthday weekend was spoiled by a pretty gnarly car accident, but worry not. I am back. I am good to go. No injuries, no worries. We are, a little bit sore, but that is obviously to be expected. What are you gonna do? No worries.
We'll know how you're moving on that third day. That third day is when things start hitting you.
Yeah, today is day 2, and I'm okay, right? Like I'm okay. I'm good. Tomorrow there is a solid chance that waking up involves some extra noises and effort. We will see. We will see. Hey, I've made this well known over the years, so that my firm belief in sport is that if you want to grow the sport, the best thing that you can do for the sport is to give the easiest access to it, right? People are more inclined to enjoy something that they experience as opposed to something that they are told about or something that they try to get into cold, right? Like if you jump into, let's say theoretically, a NASCAR race cold, and you don't really know what's going on, but you tune in and you hear Jeff Gordon and co. using NASCAR terminology without really explaining it, it can be inundating, right? Like it can be a little bit intimidating to try to become a fan, which is why I've said for many years, if you are intrigued about something that I do, right? If you are interested in something I do, whether it is soccer, hockey, NASCAR, whether it is something off the air, a hobby of mine, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever, the best thing that you can do is reach out to somebody who is a fan of that particular game, sport, competition, hobby, whatever, and say, I'd really like to learn this thing. Because those of us who care about growing that thing are going to go out of our way to try to catch you up on it, to start with elementary level stuff and build up your knowledge, build up your fan base so that you can ultimately get to a point where you feel included in that atmosphere, in that game, in that hobby, in that competition, in that sport, or in whatever it might be about. So I have, for a number of years, said that your text, your tweets that try to dissuade me from talking about, let's say, hypothetical, I don't know, soccer in the Southeast, are not going to work. You're wasting your keystrokes and my cell phone data when you send that tweet, because it's not going to work. And the reason why is, ladies and gentlemen, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. The visibility of this sport in our region continues to grow dramatically. And I have some evidence of that. Now, before I get to you, I will knock out the skeptical side. I will knock out the cynicism of it up front. I will begin by saying that I know that these contests to start the season are indeed week one. All the diehards are there. Nobody was missing these particular events. But there were three, count them, uno, dos, tres, three Major League Soccer games that took place across the Southeast this weekend. The first one took place in Nashville, where Nashville took on New York City FC. New York City FC, a good team. Nashville, just getting started, finding their way. How about, ladies and gentlemen, for the very first game, in a stadium that doesn't hold much more than this, Nashville SC winning a 2-0 contest over New York City FC in front of 28,051 people. Now, that doesn't feel like a miraculously large crowd by any stretch of the imagination. For an MLS game, it's pretty good, right? That cranks out more than are capable of fitting in most NBA arenas. That's a good turnout. And we'll see if they can continue that turnout. It was their first game at home. Now, there are two more games that happened this weekend. One of them took place right down the road when the San Jose Earthquake made the journey to Hotlanta, Georgia, to take on Atlanta United FC. Atlanta United would win that game on not one, Lonzo, but two stoppage time goals. After the regular time ended, Thiago Almada scored at 90+3 and again at 90+9 to give Atlanta, perhaps in their first game, the most dramatic win they might experience all season long. Phenomenal game in Atlanta. But I think what was more impressive, Zoe, is that they played this match in front of 67,538 people in Atlanta, Georgia. Just to put that into perspective, the Falcons of Atlanta are averaging fewer people per game than 67,500, and Atlanta United just did that. But wait, there's more. There was a third contest played in the Southeast at the MLS level this weekend, and that contest took place in Charlotte, North Carolina at Bank of America season. The Charlotte FC club welcome in the New England Revolution. Now, New England would ultimately walk away with a Henry Kessler 89th minute goal that was the difference. Revolution win this game 1-0. But what is impressive about this game is not the outcome, Lonzo. It is the fact that it was played in front of 69,345. I will go ahead and tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. In the 3 years that Rob Brown has experienced the upstate and the Carolina sporting scene,
Don't you do it, Rob Brown.
I might do it. We'll see if I'm going to do the thing you're telling me not to do. Probably. In the 3 years that I have lived here, I have made it to 3 Carolina Panther games so far. None of them pulled in 69,345 fans, and I am including the away fans in that number. 69,345 was the attendance in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just a tick shy of 65,000 was the attendance in Atlanta, Georgia. And just a tick shy of 29,000 was the attendance in Nashville, Tennessee, for Nashville SC in their first home match. Now, the only point that I'm making here is this. The efforts to derail this sport, the efforts to try to keep this sport from becoming a predominant sport, specifically in the Southeast. I would love to be able to say across the entire United States of America, but specifically across the entire Southeast, the efforts to derail the growth of soccer as both a sport at every level and as an upper level professional sport are failing. They are failing. I have to give David Tepper, who I do not give a lot of credit to based on his ownership of the Carolina Panthers until this year, doing a phenomenal job filling out that coaching staff, which I think Lonzo and I are both very impressed by. And we'll see if that momentum under Frank Reich continues into the regular season through the draft. We'll see what moves they make. But I think Tepper has done an excellent job with Charlotte FC. Now, there's been the problems with having to rotate through coaches their first year. I think they're on head coach, number 3 or number 4 at this point. There have been some administration problems, but the team itself, I think, has done a phenomenal job, an incredible job of building itself up, of making itself as talented as it can make itself, of really turning itself into a destination, an event, something that people want to be at. And I think that is obvious by the fact that a 3-year-old football club, soccer club, is pulling in numbers that are better than a 27-year-old NFL squad at this point. The Panthers have been around long enough that while I do agree that we are still primarily in the first generation of Panthers fans, Charlotte FC, despite not being a perennial contender, has done an excellent job at making people want to be there, at making people want to come to games. Now, I am going to answer a post that just came in from a texter who has a point that I agree with. Said, Rob, why is Charlotte FC reducing capacity of Bank of America after the openers? Last year, Charlotte closed off upper-level seating at some point after having a 60K opener. I agree with you. I agree, and I see that, and I know that. Charlotte FC is going to be pulling in, I think, consistently 30 to 34, maybe 35,000 person crowds moving forward. The lower bowl at Charlotte FC, they would rather have that full than open the entire stadium and have people sporadically through. Because one of the things that soccer is continuing to work on, and I think doing a good job of it specifically at the MLS level, is, I almost said exposing themselves, so let me clarify that. What soccer is doing a great job of is presenting itself. At presenting itself as an event, at presenting itself as something that if you get the opportunity to go to a match, you're not going to want to miss. They are not the only team that does this. You close off the upper bowl so that if you have 32,000, 33,000, 35,000, which is roughly half of a stadium, instead of having 2 people, 2 empty seats, 2 people, 2 empty seats, 4 people, 4 empty seats, 2 people, 2 empty seats, instead, you have an entirely full lower bowl. And so when the camera, which obviously keep in mind because of the way soccer is played, shows more of the crowd in a traditional back and forth action sweep than does the NFL, etc. They're going to show the lower bowl more. And perception being reality, right? Like that's a phrase that it's worked its way into my life many times. Perception is reality, right? And so if you've got a camera that sweeps following the right striker as he pushes up the flank, and you're showing me a lower bowl that is sparsely attended, it's only half full. If I'm a fan who might be attracted based on the social aspect, based on the party atmosphere, based on the fact that I want to go do and see what other people are doing and seeing, then a lower empty bowl, even if it is supplemented by a half empty upper bowl as well, doesn't do that. But if I fill the lower bowl, I'm accomplishing a couple of things. Number one, everybody in the building is going to have a very good view, right? Everybody in the building is going to get a lower bowl seat. And number two, so they're going to go home and tell all their friends like, oh my gosh, I got the ticket and I was, 35 rows off the field. I could see the freckles on the goalkeeper. Second off, when that same camera makes that same sweep and follows that same right striker down the flank as he makes the push up the wing, and you sweep and you show me an entirely full lower bowl, and you show me a full supporter section with the drums and the smoke, and you show me people up having a good time experiencing something that I've never experienced before, I got to tell you, now I'm more inclined to try it out for myself. Now I'm more inclined to feel like, I'm kind of missing out on something, right? Like I kind of need to be there. I kind of need to experience this. I kind of need to feel what this feels like and get it done. And I frankly think that is likely the reason that you are seeing 60K. And that's why, what did I open this with? I opened this up by saying, hey, 60,000, right? 60,000 is an opening weekend number. I don't expect that every game. 60K is, hey, it's the first game. We've had this circled on the calendar for 6 months. This is the one we're going to. I expect 30 to 35 for the majority of home games for Charlotte. When I went to the Charlotte FC versus Chelsea game last year, I want to say they pushed 41, 42K. Now, granted, you had an English Premier League side in town. That is a tourist draw, no doubt about it. But if they can get 35 and fill in the lower bowl, it just looks better on TV. And as we have mentioned a number of times, perception is reality. And if I tune in an MLS game, even if I'm just flipping channels and come across it, if I come across an MLS game and the lower bowl is full and the smoke is a-popping and the drums are playing and the vuvuzelas are bzzing, that I'm far more likely to want to be involved and feel like this is a movement I want to jump on board with. Lonzo just texted me and said, according to the internet, the Panthers averaged 70,000 in 2022. I'm going to go ahead, Lonzo, and I don't officially declare this often. I'm going to officially declare shenanigans on that because I went to 2 games and no.
Multiple sites addressed that. One actually said they averaged 71,000. So I'm just saying. And on one of those sites, San Francisco only averaged 69. So the Panthers actually averaged more.
I am going to assume, and I could be wrong.
You know how an average works. For those who don't know, they take the entire, how much attendance for each game, and then they average that out. So possibly the games that you went to were the worst games of the year, and people didn't show up on them.
I mean, maybe. Listen, one of the games I went to was Week 4 against New Orleans. The Panthers were 0-3. The Saints were expected at the time to be much better than they were. And I would say there were 40, maybe 45,000 in there.
There were probably at least 50,000 opposing fans there every week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that you are including opposing crowds. So is MLS, though I think there's probably few travelers for MLS teams than NFL teams. But I think the other aspect of it is
this NFL versus soccer, but you did that. So
no, I'm not. Listen, this is not
on the air. That's why I just sent it to you on text.
This is not a versus because I am obviously a fan of both. I'm an NFL guy. I'm also a soccer guy. It's a fan of both. The point that I am making here is not soccer v NFL. It's not soccer v football. It's not MLS versus NFL. What I am bringing up here.
But you kind of did. You went at the Panthers' attendance, so you kind of made it one versus the other when you did that.
I did not, and here's why. The reason why I don't feel I did that is this. The point that I was making here, what I was driving at, is that there are some, but not that many, but some people who are trying to stop football from being what football is. There are more people who are trying to stop soccer from catching on and becoming a top tier, not catching the NFL. It'll never catch the NFL. Let me make that crystal clear.
So the same kind of disrespect that Kansas City had this year is the kind
exactly
of
the same
that soccer gets.
Exactly the same. Travis Kelce is fuming right now over this. There is an effort to try to stop this sport from becoming a sport that gets to the top tier. Again, I don't think it's ever going to replace football. It will always be second tier to the NFL, but there is a top tier that I think baseball, basketball, and football share. The NBA, the MLB, and the NCAA, and the NBA. They all share it. And there are people trying to stop soccer from joining that group. And all I am saying is, it was week 1, it was opening day, it was opening match. I know these numbers are inflated from what the average will end up being, but the fact that you had between 3 southeastern cities, Nashville, Atlanta, and Charlotte, 164,934 fans in attendance, and for the first time in MLS history, you had 2 separate MLS games with 65,000 plus in attendance, and both of these were not in Portland, not in Seattle, not in Austin, not in Boston, not in New York. Both of these games, the first time in history of MLS that 2 games had 65,000 plus in capacity, both took place in the southeastern region of the United States. The sport is growing. And the evidence is right there in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, got a few more quick stories to bump through before we get out of here for the day. The NFL Combine is opening today. Defensive backs and linebackers are on the roster. Are you interested in that at all? All that and more coming up. Then we wrap it up with Twitter trending topics on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Hey, it's Mark Ryan. Join me for Offsides today.
Can't wait till the disrespect gimmick leads to actual disrespect.
It already has.
Yeah,
by,
Travis Kelce
by,
was so disrespected.
by people like Rob and his ilk who have decided to come at Kansas City and will do so the entire year with the disrespect thing because they feel like it wasn't warranted, which absolutely it was. But not to worry. I will defend them the entire year against Rob as he disrespects them. Been given a preview. And what it is all those Buffalo people got mad that their darling didn't make it again.
Is it, per James' statement there, is it really disrespectful to have picked Philadelphia? Is that like,
all right?
That
well,
just feels like manufactured disrespect.
You know what it is? If you look across the board and everyone, all you see is green and no one's picking you, you wouldn't feel disrespected? When there's no one in national media picking you to win, you wouldn't feel disrespected.
No.
You beat the odds. You got to the Super Bowl against, well, they're not supposed to be able to.
Impossible odds, frankly.
Because there's no Tyreek Hill, the media narrative. And then, well, they can't beat Cincinnati and, it's Burrowhead and all this kind of stuff. They get there to beat the odds going up against the best defense in the NFL. There's no way they could win that. And again, when all the national guys go, Philly's going to win this, there's no disrespect there. They should have said, oh, well, I guess we're just not supposed to win. No, there's absolutely disrespect there.
Sports talk for real sports fans.
The Rob Brown Show. Now 9 to noon.
The Fan.
Upstate.
All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. A couple of quick stories to run through here before we hit Twitter trending topics on the way out and call it a day. Damian Lillard last night.
He said Twitter.
Twitter trending topics.
Before we hit them Twitters.
That's what we do. Dame Lillard, 41 points in the first half, 71 points in the game as the T-Blazers knocked off the Houston Rockets. Lillard went 22 of 38 from the field and knocked down 13 trays in 39 minutes last night.
Okay, why are ball hogs praised for the? Where's the rest of his team when he's making all those shots? Was anybody else open? Why does he think it all has to be about him? Why does he go? Well, I got 50. I think I'm going to get 70 something.
I would say this, Lonzo.
No one wants to play with that guy on if you're at the playground, that guy just takes every shot. You don't want to play with that guy. You want a chance to get your own.
Can you name me another Portland Trailblazer?
No, I cannot.
Yeah, correct. Listen, I respect the hell out of Dame Lillard because Damian Lillard could have left Portland multiple times. He could have gone to super teams. He's been recruited to super teams, and he's repeatedly said, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to do what I can in Portland. And when he does that, right? What is he rewarded with?
It's not because if he went somewhere else, he'd have to share the ball. It's not because of that. Because
I don't think it is.
Because where he is, most people are like me and can't name anybody else on his team. So he stays there. He's the man, and he can put up 72 points. And people are like, oh, that's so great. 72 points. Wow.
Lonzo, we have
bench who's not going to make the team next year because you took all the shots, and he can prove that he had a little stroke himself.
Let's just go with that at the national
back, as you can tell.
I can tell. At the National Basketball Association level, the job is to win games, right? I decided because season 3 of Ted Lasso drops in like a week. I decided this weekend I needed a little feel good, a little pick me up. So I decided to watch a little Ted Lasso seasons 1 and 2 because it's a feel good show. And there's a moment towards the end of season 1 where one of the players, Roy Kent, who is an older player but a legend at the league, is starting to show some signs of his age. And there's a fight between head coach Ted Lasso and his assistant coach, Coach Beard, where Lasso is having a conversation and he says, our job here isn't just to win games, it's to help grow these young players. And Coach Beard gets very angry and he slaps the table and he's like, no, our job is to win games. At the college level, there are lessons to be learned, but these guys are professionals. Their job is to win games. Our job is to win games. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if I got a guy on my team that is shooting in any given game 60+% from the floor and 45% from deep, yeah, I want him shooting every ball, right? Until the hot hand wears off, I want him shooting every ball because that gives you the best chance to win. We can complain all we want about the hurt feelings of Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simmons, but at the end of the day, the Trailblazers won that game. At the end of the day, the Trailblazers are now 1/2 of a game out of a play-in seed.
Right,
That's
Rob,
where they stand.
I've got to ask you a question. How do you know if you have a hot hand yourself if you never get to take a shot?
It doesn't matter if another guy does.
You can't get the hot hand if somebody else is taking all the balls.
I'll tell you what. If Reddish or Grant or Eubanks or any of the other guys that are starters for the Blazers can start knocking down shots at the clip that Dame Lillard is doing it, then I will find ways to work them more into the offense. But until that happens, Dame Lillard is the best player on the team. We don't have this conversation about LeBron. We don't have it about Kevin Durant. We don't have it about any other player, but for some reason we do about Dame Lillard.
We don't have it about LeBron because LeBron does something that Dame apparently doesn't do. He passes the ball off to the open guy.
Well, he does now at 38, but he didn't at 27.
He absolutely did at 27.
And
people got all upset with LeBron because he never seemed to want to take the last shot because he said he'd rather pass it to the open guy.
And that's
Dame,
fine.
you don't have that problem with because if you're open or not, he's still taking the shot. Maybe a coup needs to happen. The rest of the guys, the other 4 guys go, you know what? Just don't pass him the ball.
That is fair, and that is fine when the other guys on the floor are Bosch or Wade or AD. There was a period of time where he did have another all-star on the team in C.J. McCollum. C.J. McCollum and Dame were a deadly duo because now Dame didn't have to move with the ball. He could move off ball, get himself open, and take the shot. Listen, I honestly think there's only one 3-point shooter better in the NBA right now than Dame Lillard, and it's Steph Curry. Other than that, he's the best in the game at this point. The dude goes out. He's got a Trailblazers team that with a lot of other superstars would be probably closer down by the Spurs and Rockets than where they are now, just behind the T-Wolves and Pelicans in the play-in tournament at this point. Dame Lillard deserves more eyeballs and more respect than he gets, not just because of his game, but because of the fact that he's had multiple opportunities to go elsewhere and have better players around him, and instead he keeps playing with the dumpster fire of a lineup that the Trailblazers put around them and carrying their staggering carcass into relevancy year after year.
Let's see. If I'm playing Portland, what do? I put 3 guys on Dame Lillard, and then I win the game.
I mean, theoretically, that's the spot where you look and you go, okay, I got 2 guys open. Right? There should be 2 guys open.
Yeah, but
the problem is,
he's not going to dish.
Yeah, if nobody else is hitting them or taking them, yeah, of course. Of course. The best player's got to be the best player. That's just what basketball is. The best player's got to be the best player. And because Portland just refuses to take advantage of having an all-timer on their roster, they can't do anything else about it.
What do you mean take it? You mean surround him with players who won't get the ball?
I mean, go get roster talent to where he doesn't have to force 60 shots a game.
If you're looking at a place that you want to go play basketball and you're an elite basketball player, you're in the NBA, you're going to go somewhere where they got someone who's going to pass the ball to you. You don't want to go somewhere where you're going to watch some other guy take the shots. You don't make money that way.
Texter says, LOL, Joe Klein never complained that Larry Bird had the hot hand. That's a hell of a reference. Hell of a reference. Well done. All right. One more quick story before we take a break.
Joe Klein was just there to look sexy. That's why.
Fair enough. Hang on. Let me pop the fingers, get the neck roll in for this story. ladies and gentlemen, Jake Paul is a not boxer. Jake Paul was undefeated in, and I'm going to air quote this so hard I sprain a finger, boxing. Because, he didn't box any boxers. He fought washed up MMAers and former basketball players and was undefeated. So, in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia this weekend, Jake Paul put his unbeaten streak on the line when he took on Tyson Fury. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. He took on Tyson's younger half-brother, Tommy Fury, which, by the way, is a hell of a name. Can we agree that Tommy Fury is a great name?
Don't be downplaying Tommy Fury. That's a name right there. You don't want to fight Tommy Fury.
Yes, Tommy Fury stepped in to the squared ring with Jake Paul, and all he did was beat the hell out of him. A split 74-75, 76-73, 76-73 bout saw Tommy Fury take the split decision. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't do this often because I acknowledge that I am more disconnected from boxing than I've been in years past. But after I saw that Jake Paul ate the L, I went and I pulled this fight up and watched it. And I'm going to go ahead and straight up say, I'm going to be accused of bias, and that's okay. But as a boxing fan who was curious about this fight, this was not a split decision. Tommy Fury thoroughly handled Jake Paul. And I don't know why that one boss went 74-75 on the scorer's card, because that was a 76-73 fight if I have ever seen one in my life.
All right,
Fury
real
landed.
Real quick, you're talking about the scoring system. There are people out there who may not understand the boxing scoring system and think, well, that's just 1 point. That's not really that big of a deal.
So the 10 must rule, or the must 10 rule, depending on what you call it, the winner of each round receives 10 points minus deductions for fouls. The lesser score of that round is awarded to the loser minus any points, minus any point deductions for fouls. There are no fraction of the points. So if it is an even round, both fighters get 10 points. If it is a round that is won by one fighter, it would be 10-9. If one fighter dominates that round, it could be 10-8. I have occasionally seen 10-7s, though they are not all that common. A 76-73 scorecard says that effectively Jake Paul got his ass beat, is what happened in this one, okay? And he did. He got smoked. I could have awarded him one, maybe 2 rounds. Look at the numbers will tell you. Fury landed 88 punches. Paul landed 49. Fury threw 302 punches. Paul threw 157. Fury, the only category he truly lost was that Paul landed more punches by a whopping 2%, 31% to 29%. Fury landed 39 jabs to Paul's 25. He threw 154 to Paul's 78. Power shots, 49 power shots landed out of 148 thrown for 33% for Fury, 24 out of 79 thrown for Paul at a 30% clip. Every stat, with the exception of percentage of junk punches, went the way of Tommy Fury. He was bigger, he was stronger, he was faster, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to announce right here, right now on the Rob Brown Show, that we have now 0 reasons to ever take Jake Paul seriously again. 0.
I have some questions though. You said one fighter was bigger. Were they the same weight class? Because I'm not sure he's fighting in the same weight class, is he? I'm talking about Jake Paul.
I believe that Fury only had him by a couple of pounds, but I'll check that. I'll check what their weigh-in was.
I'm curious about that. Also, the fact that it was in Saudi Arabia. I'm thinking it's work. I'm thinking he lost on purpose so that he can get a rematch and pull in bigger numbers and make more money. Because if you can win on purpose as a work or such, if you want to call it that way, you can also lose that way.
I will very simply say
Did Jake Paul get a bigger purse in a loss than Tommy Fury did with a win?
no chance. No chance. I will simply say this, that any boxer, and I mean any boxer that we were to learn intentionally throws a fight, I will no longer cover that boxer. I got no interest in covering that boxer any forward. I don't care.
You've never believed that Jake Paul was legit anyway. So would that
Correct, because he
surprise
never fought a boxer, and now that he fought a boxer, he got it handed to him. When he fought a guy who is trained in this art for his life, when he fought a guy who's got a guy like Tyson in his corner that he has learned from, when he fought a guy who is a boxer, he got it handed to him exactly like I said he would.
Is the experiment over then? So now Jake Paul is done.
It is for me.
He can't get but he wasn't there for you anyway. I'm talking about the millions of people who actually buy these fights to watch him fight. Are they going to stop buying because he lost?
I hope so. I don't know is the answer. I can't answer that, Lonzo.
Step outside your hate for a second, and look at it from another standpoint. Do you think that he will step back in the ring again since he lost?
Do I think he will? Yes, because I think that he is in attention, you know what? And I don't think he's going to be able to survive, right? So I very much think
he'll be at WrestleMania.
I do what?
You very much think he'll be at WrestleMania?
Oh, he absolutely will. I very much think that the Paul brothers, both of them, got to where they are based on their YouTube stuff. And that's fine. I am not a guy who follows influencers. Never have been, never will be, right? I don't get it. I don't understand. I've never followed influencers. And
but do they follow you?
No one follows me. It's the weakness of my life. They are influencers. I've never followed that life, but there are millions and millions of people who do. And so my question here would be, do you follow what's the tipping point where you go, I'm not going to follow that guy anymore, right? Like I have seen, for instance, there's a dude and I can't remember his name. I don't particularly care to. But there's a guy on YouTube that got very big, Lonzo. He's big. He's super jacked. Like he's absolutely shredded. He's bulked up. And for years, he touted the lifestyle of like the liver diet, right? It's like raw red meat and grass and water, and that's it. And work out 90 hours every day. And this dude's absolutely yoked. And there were millions of people who subscribed to his school of philosophy and followed his advice and all that. And then about 2 months ago, it came out, he roided. And he roided a lot, right? And a lot of people ditched him. A lot of people left, but a lot of people stayed behind. And I don't have a problem with that. It's your life. Get your entertainment or whatever it is you want from wherever you want it. But when that becomes more important than the sport, even if it brings, because you and I have had this argument, it brings eyeballs to the sport. Yeah, but it doesn't bring eyeballs that are going to stick on the sport. It brings eyeballs to a Jake Paul fight. And now that he got absolutely rocked and probably deserved to lose that fight worse than he lost it on the scorecards in a quick review, I hope that I watch boxing for Jake Paul, then you don't watch boxing, dog. I hope that mindset goes away permanently.
So the guys who came to boxing because of Jake Paul, what if they go away? If they go away, then boxing goes back to where it was before the Paul brothers
It didn't leave, Lonzo, because none of those people are watching any other fight, right? None of those people are like, okay, the Jake Paul fight is over. Let me flip over and see what the Bronze Bomber. Let's see what Deontay Wilder's did. None of those people are watching any other fight. They are just watching that. So boxing doesn't benefit from Jake Paul. Jake Paul only makes boxing look worse to benefit himself. And that's why I'm glad that he got his nose punched through the back of his skull.
And I would say you're wrong. This hurts boxing that he lost.
No, it hurts him that he lost. Texture said, Rob, Zoe said, get outside your hate for him. Pot meat kettle, Tom Brady.
So you're equating Jake Paul and Tom Brady together. You should be ashamed of that text.
I'm just reading text. That's all.
I can't even believe you read that.
Let's take a break. We're back after this to wrap up this show on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
And on the Odyssey app.
Upstate.
You actually uttered Jake Paul and Tom Brady in the same sentence.
I just read a text, Lonzo.
Yeah, I know. But you can filter through those and go, now that's
not reading that.
Nah, not reading that.
South Carolina basketball is on the road at Mississippi State tomorrow. The Gamecocks have lost 2 in a row.
It's not censoring. It's filtering.
In the Southern Conference tournament, they beat Samford 93-79 on Saturday and have a bye in the first round of the tournament, which begins this Friday in Asheville, North Carolina. Furman will take on the winner of the Mercer Citadel matchup. Mercer, the 8th seed. Citadel,
I know it sounds like I'm whining because I am, but last week, how I felt last week in this room, I wouldn't have been able to stay because I wouldn't have been able to stop coughing. So I think it's a true statement that I'm getting better.
Well, I might start getting worse because the 2011 Bradford pear trees in our yard all bloomed over the weekend.
Yeah, I noticed some of those on the way in today. But they're pretty, Rob.
They are. They're really pretty. I just know that in 6 to 8 days, I'm going to be a mess.
Oh, well, it won't let me preview it, so I'll just guess. Why not? Yeah, don't do that, Hudson. You'll make him angry. Rob doesn't care that the Utes are coming to boxing because of Jake Paul.
They're not coming to boxing. No other fights are seeing a spike because of it.
If there are other fights on the card and he's not the first fight, people are buying the entire card, which means they might be watching some of the other boxing. I'm just saying. I think the only way you can say that for sure is if that's the only match being bought. Wow, Steven. I knew they sucked, but, but they're so pretty. Are they as bad as kudzu, though? Although kudzu doesn't make your sinuses go nuts. At least I don't think. Remember when I moved here, kudzu was the talk. People talk about how it was taking over the state, and no one talks about that anymore. I don't even remember seeing any. Maybe they actually killed it all off. So which is more invasive, kudzu or Bradford pear?
Yes. They're equally heinous. If I recall correctly, I don't know if it's the city or the county or the state, but isn't there a program where if you call one of the government levels, they will come remove Bradford Paris from your property for free?
I don't know, but there should be. Can you do that for someone else's property? That's the question. We also have like a bunch of honeysuckles blooming. Those things tear me up too.
The Ingalls Market Studio. The Fan.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live on the Free Odyssey app. CBS Sports Radio. And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
All right, time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending, and he will tell us why. First of all, Hudson, I'm not going to back off the honeysuckles. I can't breathe around them. Anyway.
Watch the stream from now on, ladies and gentlemen.
Watch the stream. All right, the first thing that's trending is Kenny Omega.
So the discussion about Kenny Omega right now is a rumor going around. Kenny Omega just got his contract extended 9 months, but it is not it's not an expansion to keep him locked in. It was his contract had a clause in it that allowed AEW to extend his contract if he missed extensive time due to injury, which obviously he did. But now there's the discussion that Omega may very well be contemplating a move to the WWE. And on top of that, a couple of weeks ago, Dax from FTR sent out a picture, maybe a troll, maybe not, of what appeared to be him watching wrestling with a WWE cover sheet for a contract sitting on his desk. Now, I absolutely believe FTR are trolls, but who knows, right? The point is, he started the competition on a gag that MJF has been running for some period of time, so it's like not really that funny. Now there's talk that Omega could move, and if Omega both go, the thought would be that the next up could possibly be the Young Bucks following them to WWE, which would be a complete and total coup of the entire EVP roster of AEW. It doesn't mean AEW would die by any stretch, but it certainly would be a real bad look. That being said, Omega is on the roster through at least November, so we've got probably till the end of this year to figure something out.
Yeah, just think if the entire Elite went to WWE, that would just leave Jericho, and would he jump back too? I guess we'll see. It'd be interesting. No way that AEW survives without those three guys, but I don't think they're going anywhere. We'll find out. All right, the next thing that's trending is a whole lot of movement for some reason in Twitter Trending Topics. Chris Jones is trending.
I have no idea why Chris Jones is trending.
He's one of those guys that could possibly. There are a lot of Chiefs that have to have their contracts redone, 1-year contracts and things like that.
Where are you guys on the cap right now? Do you know?
No, but I know there are a lot of guys like some of the hyphenateds that were on 1-year contracts.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to lose probably at least one of the big time defensive guys.
I would not be shocked. That's kind of the risk when you go the Chiefs methodology, which we've talked about, right? The methodology of draft really well, have 6 or 7 great core players that eat up most of your cap. There comes a point where by wrapping those players up and then having them succeed, the escalators are going to kick in and send that money skyward. And if that turns out the case, if that turns out to be the case, then you're eventually going to have to move on from them and hope you hit on a replacement or a free agent. It makes it tough, but as the Chiefs just proved again, if it works, it freaking works, man.
All right, one more. Lamar's trending, of course.
Yeah, Lamar. So Lamar over the weekend, I don't know if you saw this, though. Lamar over the weekend liked, but then promptly deleted the like of a Carolina Panther fan account that put out a theory about how Lamar could end up in Charlotte. I'm just going to say this. It is both combine season, smokescreen season, and conspiracy theory season. Lamar, like anybody else with an ego, was searching himself on Twitter to see what the conversation was. He accidentally clicked a heart, and that was it. but we'll find out. I hope they make the move. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow, one way or another, for the great one. I am Rob Brown. We'll see you back here on The Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
Hey, Greenville.
Hey, are you like going to say goodbye or something?
Yeah, I was going to wait till you were done so we could say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, I did. Well, when you heard silence, that meant we were done.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. You guys are the best, and we will see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Have a great one. Goodbye.